Hello and welcome to the Film Pulse Podcast. This is episode number 476. My name's Adam Patterson. With me today we got Kevin Rakestraw. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, hi. How's it going?
Pretty good. This week on the show, we'll be taking a look at How to Blow Up a Pipeline, which is out now in limited release. We'll also be going over some of what we've been watching on the watch list and new releases in theaters, VOD, and Blu-ray. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Please remember to review us on iTunes if you get a moment. That'd be great. We are going to be recording this month's Saved by the 90s this week, so stay tuned for that. The theme this month is Dennis Quaid. So we're going to be talking about 4 Dennis Quaid movies of the 90s. Pretty excited for that, actually.
Dennis Quaid.
Yeah, Dennis Quaid. All right, let's talk about How to Blow Up a Pipeline. This is directed by Daniel Goldhaber. I have a synopsis here. A crew of young environmental activists execute a daring mission to sabotage an oil pipeline. This premiered at Sundance, I want to say. We do have a review for this up. Maybe it was TIFF. Our review for this was Chris covered it at TIFF last year, so maybe that's where it premiered. At any rate, we'll start with you, Kevin. What were your initial impressions of How to Blow Up a Pipeline?
For the most part, I thoroughly enjoyed this. It was relatively straightforward. It was kind of what I was hoping it would be, where it's just a very economical, straightforward, pretty tension-filled, just setting up the mission and then watching that mission play out, essentially.
Yeah.
And I don't really have much to complain about. The only thing that kind of didn't work for me is the occasional detours into like backstory, but they didn't detract from the film itself.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I think it could have been like structured a little bit differently, but all things considered, I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal.
I agree to a certain extent. I think that the backstory, like the little kind of asides and flashbacks, they did break up the momentum a bit, especially when a lot of times it would be like a little cliffhanger there'd be something big that was just happening, and then they would cut away to somebody's backstory, and they do kind of leave you hanging a little bit, and I think that it does kind of disrupt that momentum. But with that being said, I did like how they would transition from like the backstory part into like the current day part. There was one specific one towards the end that I really liked. The one involving Sasha Lane's character. So it was like towards the end. I don't want to give it away, but I did like how the Goldhaber transitioned back into the present from those little flashbacks. Thought that was kind of cool. But I completely agree with you. This was exactly what I was hoping for. I don't know why, but I was like a little worried that it was going to be something a little bit different. I was wanting a straightforward kind of just tense thriller. That's what I wanted, and I think that this definitely delivers on that. You have a strong cast here. The characters are endearing, and I was rooting for them. Like, I wanted them to succeed with this plan, and I just, yeah, it was tense. I thought that there were a lot of really tense moments, but I don't have too many other criticisms with it. It's well shot, looks great. I don't know if this was shot on film. It looks like it was, but I can't confirm that. 16 millimeter. So yeah,
there you go.
It was shot on 16, but looks great. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say. Just good shit all around. It was exactly what I was hoping for.
Yeah, it was like you going into it. I was a little bit concerned of like what the structure be, And once, you get through the initial, like, getting the team together or whatever, and they start putting the plan to fruition. It was exactly what I wanted. I was like, I really hope they, like, blow up a pipeline. Guess what?
Well, I think one of my concerns was that it was going to be a little too much like night moves for some reason. I was just thinking about night moves a lot whenever I saw this movie get mentioned. And I liked night moves, to be clear, but I was like, I just wanted something different. And I don't know why I preemptively drew comparisons between those two movies. I guess maybe the subject matter is similar, but at any rate, these are very different movies, and I think Daniel Goldhaber's doing some really cool shit. I liked Cam a lot, his last movie, and I'm really excited to see like what he's got coming up next, because I think that he's a very talented director. It looks like he's doing a Faces of Death movie.
Interesting.
I'm very interested in that.
Yeah, I think I like the night moves comparison, or lack thereof. The opposite of that, where this felt kind of like I don't want to necessarily say a throwback, but it just felt so in the vein of like a thriller type of just, here's the mission, and we're going through the mission step by step, and just
it does
the tension building.
Yeah,
And I had this feeling. There was a worry. I think my worry going into is that it was going to get kind of bogged down with like the ideology of.
Yeah, that was one of my concerns. Yeah,
but it never does that. It never. I mean, it's in there. Obviously, it's going to be, but to me, it was never overbearing or suffocating in any way. Where you were like, "Oh, okay, we fucking get it,"
I think that they did a really good job of delivering enough backstory with each of these characters that their motivations were very clear without having to bog us down with the ideology. I think that was done in a very kind of slick way, where we knew exactly what these people stood for, but they didn't waste tons and tons of time in overly explaining why they're doing this. Like it all was done in a very, expeditious way, and I definitely appreciated that. And I think I like what you mentioned about, like, it does kind of feel like a throwback. I think that part of that is probably because of how it was shot. It does feel like a less modern thriller. It feels more like what we used to get, in the 70s through the 90s, with these like really great thrillers that are like stripped down from all of the extra bullshit that we tend to get nowadays with a lot of these thrillers, and it just sticks to its main goal of delivering this really kind of taut, exciting story.
Yeah, I'm glad you said it, because I wanted to point that out, is the way in which this is shot, especially like the cinematography mixed with the editing, does make it feel kind of like a throwback to me, and I think it really added to that tension building.
I would also like to highlight the score of this movie, which I liked quite a bit. I've said it a million times, but I don't typically notice a score in a movie unless it's something that really stands out, good or bad, for me. And I think that Gavin Brivick's score in this is really quite good.
I would agree, but I don't remember it. But I'm going to go ahead and say, yeah.
It was good. It did a good job of aiding with the suspense, like helping build that suspense up, especially in the scenes when they're like, delicately building and placing the bombs and stuff. So Yeah, this movie's great. Highly recommend it. I don't know when it's going to be hitting VOD, but when it does, check it out. If it's playing in your area, I would say go see it. Let's go ahead and give it a score. I'm having a really hard time finding any faults in this movie, so I'm pretty high on this one. I'm at like an 8, maybe even an 8.5 on this for me.
And I know what you mean, because I feel like, given everything that I've said, like surely it's got to be no less than an 8. But at the same time, I'm like, man, 8 seems high.
It does, yeah.
I'm gonna go 8. I'm going 8. They did it. They did the thing. They blew up the pipeline.
Yeah, we did learn how. Like the title says, how to blow up a pipeline. We did learn how that was done.
They did it.
Success. Also, I did mention it, but kudos to the cast. Really good cast in this. I liked the choices of everybody that was being utilized in this. So
yeah, it's tough to knock a movie that has assembling a ragtag group.
Yep,
that's always good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anytime you assemble a group, I'm in, because I'm just like, who's in this group? I need to know more.
Yeah,
and then you get the group together, and it's like, okay, well, what's this group doing? Oh, they're going to blow up a pipeline? Okay,
sign me up. Sign me up.
Yeah. Give me a break.
Cool. All right, that's How to Blow Up a Pipeline. Let's move on and talk about some of what we've been watching. Kevin, I believe it is your turn this week.
Oh, okay. I only have 2, but I'm here to tell you about 2 that I liked a lot. I liked all the movies that I watched this week.
Nice.
Which is awesome.
That was a good week.
Yeah. So, the first one is Leonor Will Never Die. This is from like last year. Martika Ramirez Escobar. This is available to rent on Amazon Prime, $3.99. Pick this up. I forget where this played. It played somewhere that piqued my interest, and then it came out on VOD, so I had to check this out. So this is about this woman. She's a retired filmmaker, right? And she's kind of forgetful. She keeps, the main thing is she keeps forgetting to pay her electric bill. Her son lives with her. This is a Filipino movie, by the way. And she decides that she wants to finish this screenplay that she was working on. And she ends up getting hit in the head with the TV. It knocks her out, puts her in a coma. But it also knocks her into the movie that she's working on.
Nice. And
the way in which the movie is presented is, she used to make old 80s action movies. So they look like that. It's that type of quality with the sound effects and all of that going on. It's just an absolute riot. This movie is great. So much creativity in it. A perfect balance of being inventive, funny, but also dealing with grief and just juggling it all perfectly, really. I can't recommend this movie enough. I had a blast with this.
Nice. That's Leonor Will Never Die. That is immediately going on my watch list. Looks like this played Sundance and Fantastic Fest last year, and somehow I completely missed it.
I think it was Fantastic Fest is where I heard about it. You will love this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I just watched part of the trailer, and I can already tell that this is something that I would absolutely love. So cool. All right, I saw Inside. This is the one with Willem Dafoe, the one that came out earlier this year.
Oh.
Directed by Vasilis Katsoupas. Willem Dafoe plays an art thief. He is doing this latest job, which involves a New York penthouse. So he breaks into a New York penthouse, steals a bunch of really, really expensive art, millions of dollars. Something goes wrong, and the house, the penthouse sort of goes into lockdown. He can't get out, and his connections on the outside, his team, they abandon him, leave him in there. And not only is he completely locked into this penthouse, but the system goes completely haywire, and the heat turns on, and it is rapidly getting hotter and hotter and hotter in this penthouse, and where he's completely trapped. And as you might expect, he starts to go a little cuckoo, little bonkers.
Oh no.
Interestingly, at one point, the heat turns off and the AC turns on. So it goes from like 105 degrees to like 47. And also at the beginning, there were strobe lights and like a loud siren sound. So yeah, he went crazy pretty fast. What's not really clear is how long he was actually in the house, the penthouse. So it was kind of, you couldn't really tell. It seemed like he wasn't in there that long, as like long enough to justify what happens and how crazy he goes. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting. It's pretty much what I thought it would be, but a little less so. I thought it was going to be a little bit more kind of on the surreal side, a little bit more focused on the madness. But for the most part, until towards the end, it's kind of normal. And him just trying to like get water, because the water's turned off on this apartment as well. So he has no water, no food. So it's like him, a lot of scenes of him like just like sucking on the walls of the freezer. And oh, by the way, like every time you open the fridge or the freezer, it plays the Macarena nonstop until you close it. So that was another thing that aided in his insanity.
Why?
I guess it's like a door, like a door alarm. Like you leave the fridge door open too long, and it starts to play an alarm.
But why would you pick Macarena as your alarm?
I guess because it's annoying enough that you want to immediately close that fridge door.
I guess.
Either way, I was kind of down the middle on this one. Like, it was okay. The beginning parts were okay, and I don't know. I'm not really sure why this movie's really, we need it. Yeah, like it wasn't that entertaining, and it wasn't that new, and it didn't really have that much to say either. So at the end of the day, I was just like, okay, well,
yeah,
pretty forgettable.
I remember when we were getting ready for our most anticipated, this is one that I read about, right? And initially, like, reading it, you're like, oh yeah, nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then you think about it for like a split second more, and you're like, actually, I don't know if I want to watch that though.
It's kind of, yeah, and it's kind of gross too. Like, as you would expect with someone who is trapped in an apartment and there's no running water, so there's no like plumbing, the toilets are not working. So they do spend time like showing us where he's shitting, and his pee that's like turning brown from dehydration, and it's kind of gross. Like eventually he just starts walking around completely naked, and it's not a very pleasant movie to watch.
Yeah.
Anyway, don't really recommend it. Inside.
Well, that's good to know. The only other thing I watched is INU-OH, the newest UASA anime. I didn't know that this just at some point it dropped on Hulu. Did not know. Just completely by accident saw it on there, and I lost my mind and hit play faster than I've ever hit play on something. And it did not disappoint. It's like a rock opera musical.
Nice.
Yeah, it's incredible. INU-OH he has this curse. He's kind of like, one arm is like the length of like 14 arms. The other arm is really, really short. His legs are messed up. Like, his face is deformed. He's got a lot of problems, right? And people see him as a monster. He comes in contact with this guy this young Biwa priest who plays music, and like the priest is blind, so he doesn't know. They start a friendship. He plays his music, does the dancing, and they start telling stories about these like fallen soldiers and everything. And every time they like do a performance, the souls of the fallen soldiers or warriors or whatever that they're telling the stories of, like, lift a little bit of the curse. So like first he gets like normal human legs. So every time he does that, and it just keeps going and going and going. And I mean, if you're a fan of his like animation style, which is just usually like 15, 18 different styles all packed into one movie, you're gonna love this. It's just more of the same. This is probably his most how do I want to say this? Like his most adult, like sophisticated work so far, I would say. I mean, it has some silly aspects to it, but not as other movies do. And I mean, sometimes it's just downright beautiful. There's one shot in particular where I forget who it is that's singing, but there's like millions of like cherry blossom leaves or petals falling, and just the way that it's animated is just incredible.
Nice. Yeah, this looks great.
The music's good too. For someone like me that's not a big musical guy.
Yeah.
The music's great.
Cool. And that's INU-OH. That's going to be on Hulu. I'm continuing my my Walter Hill deep dive this week. I'll transition from INU-OH to another movie that involved someone who was looked at as a monster, and that's Johnny Handsome from 1989. This stars Mickey Rourke as a guy who he's got like the Elephant Man disease.
Okay.
Elephantitis, or I can't remember the term. But at any rate, he has severe facial deformities, and he's like a career criminal, and a job goes wrong, and his mentor gets killed by Lance Hendrickson and Ellen Barkin, who are this like evil kind of murderous couple. And Mickey Rourke's character, Johnny, he ends up going to prison, and while in prison, he gets approached by Forrest Whitaker, who plays a reconstructive surgeon, they're working on this like kind of experimental thing in that, like it's like a rehabilitation thing where they give prisoners reconstructive surgery, I guess, or something. I don't know. But at any rate, they give him surgery that fix his deformities, and they give him like a new identity, a new name, and all that stuff. And he gets approved for work release, and he basically vows revenge against these two people who killed his mentor and sent him to prison and double crossed him and all that stuff. It's pretty good. I like this more than some of Hill's like later things. Like it was entertaining. It was well shot. It was well acted. So I think that this is definitely a fun one. It's not like on the same level as some of his other movies. I'd say that like this is like kind of a mid entry in his filmography. Still quite entertaining though. I enjoyed it for the most part. Morgan Freeman plays his like caseworker / cop. This takes place in New Orleans too, so it's got a lot of that like New Orleans flavor to it, which I like. So yeah, I can recommend Johnny Handsome. I saw Tresspass. This is from 1992. This is with Bill Paxton, Ice-T, William Sadler, Ice Cube. It involves two firefighters who find a treasure map in a burning building. This guy, they go into this burning building, and this guy ends up jumping into the flames. So he kills himself using the fire, But before doing so, he leaves this like treasure map. And William Sadler and Bill Paxton use this treasure map to find this abandoned factory where they discover that all this like gold, tons of gold, is stashed. But it turns out that a gang is also using this abandoned factory as a place to conduct business / kill someone. And it turns into this cat and mouse game where you have Bill Paxton, William Sadler trying to get out of this factory where they're being hunted by this gang. It's a lot of fun. This one is also exactly what you would expect from a Walter Hill movie. Quite good. I would recommend this one. The final one that I'll mention is Undisputed from 2002. This is it's a boxing movie. It takes place in prison. So you have Wesley Snipes, who is a former boxer who was sent to prison for killing a man who was sleeping with his girlfriend or wife. And then you have Ving Rhames, who was he's the current heavyweight champion of the world, and he gets sent to prison for raping a woman. This seems like Ving Rhames' character seems like a very thinly veiled version of Mike Tyson. So what you have here is in this prison they do a boxing league. Where once a month the prisoners can do like these sanctioned sort of fights in like an actual boxing ring and stuff. And Wesley Snipes is undefeated. He just destroys everybody who challenges him. And, Ving Rhames comes in, world heavyweight champ, and they set up this boxing match. Peter Falk is in this, and he's great in this. And he plays this like mobster guy who organizes the fight and everything. It's very average. It's very forgettable. It's just kind of your typical prison / boxing movie. There's just really nothing too interesting here, unfortunately. The performances are good. Like Wesley Snipes and Ving Rhames are awesome in this, as is Peter Falk, as I mentioned. But like the story itself is just very generic. There's really not a lot here. Everything that I mentioned is pretty much exactly what happens in this movie. You get these two guys, they train, they fight, there's a winner, roll credits. Like there's just not a lot here. It wasn't like offensively bad or anything, and also like, I don't know, Walter Hill, he does some like goofy stuff with title cards in this where like he like flashes up what everybody is in prison for and stuff. And I don't know. It's like he's trying to make it a little bit more like docu-fiction-esque, get that kind of vibe, but I don't know. It doesn't really work. So that's it. That's all I got.
Oh, I have one last thing because I forgot to mention it. I forgot to log it a while ago, but I watched Quick Change. The Bill Murray one.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, Tubi. Why not? Just throw it on there. So I gotta say, like, this was fairly interesting. The bank robbery, and then like the initial, like them trying to leave New York and they can't. Mm-hmm. But man, did it run out of steam.
Oh yeah.
And it just kind of got ridiculous, like as it went on, and I kind of lost interest about. I can't even remember like when the interest started to wane, but it started so high, Mm-hmm. Just like the way that they really took their time, like through the bank robbery. Like it played out like almost in real time. And it's just like, man, this is not what I was expecting. And then them getting out and trying to leave New York City, just trying to make it to the airport. And then, like I said, it really lost steam.
Yeah. I still think that this was better than what people made it out to be. I still liked it.
Definitely. Without a doubt. But to me, it felt like the promise was so high in the beginning. There you're like, oh my God, this is going to be incredible.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, okay, I see what happens.
It definitely does lose steam. Cool. That's Quick Change on Tubi. Directed by Bill Murray and Howard Franklin. Bill Murray's only directing credit. All right, let's take a look at what we have in theaters this week. Got two notable ones. The Pope's Exorcist with Russell Crowe. This is the one that is it's about Father Amorth, who was the real life exorcist that the movie The Exorcist was based on. It probably is going to be very bad. Do you have any interest in this one?
No, I do not.
Yeah, can't imagine you would. We also have Renfield. This is the one with Nicolas Cage where he plays Dracula. And it's directed by Chris McKay. So, I don't know. Maybe this is looks like it could be fun. I don't know if we want to be hopping in the theater to see it, but I don't know. Maybe the mood will strike.
You never know.
What's your take on Renfield?
No thanks.
Okay. On VOD this week, starting with April 11th, we have Out of the Loop, which is a documentary about Chicago stand-up comics. Got Strain 100, which appears to be a horror movie. We got The Tutor on DirecTV. So if you're one of the 5 people that has a DirecTV subscription, you can enjoy The Tutor.
The Tutor?
Starring Garrett Hedlund.
No, Garrett Hedlund?
Yeah, man.
Is he the Tutor?
Making a comeback. I don't think he's the Tutor. I think someone else is the Tutor.
Oh.
We have Linoleum. This is, I think it's like a dark comedy, maybe. It's with Jim Gaffigan. The Strange Case of Jackie Kailu. It's maybe like a werewolf type story. We got Breakout. This is all still on the 11th, by the way. Breakout with Tom Sizemore. Emily, which is it imagines Emily Bronte's own gothic story that inspired her seminal novel, Wuthering Heights. Then on the 14th, we have Perfect Addiction. We got Dark Entities. Kids vs. Aliens, which is going to be on Shudder. One of these...
Who got Kids or Aliens?
I have kids. I saw the trailer for this, and I'm going to say the kids win.
Okay. I guess it all depends on what the aliens are.
I think they're pretty ruthless, but the kids look like they're a bunch of little badasses. Little badasses with attitudes. This is directed by Jason Eisner, so of Hobo with a Shotgun fame.
Gotcha. I got aliens.
Okay. All right.
I hope that movie is just aliens demolishing kids.
I don't think it is. I don't think it will be. I'm planning on checking this out though, so I'll report back next week.
Yes.
We got One of These Days. 7 Kings Must Die. That's going to be on Netflix. We have Weathering, which is also on Netflix. We have One True Loves, which is an absolutely horrible title. We have Chantilly Bridge, and it looks like that's about it. On Blu-ray this week, we have Heart of Dragon, which is from 1985. That is a Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung film, which I have not seen, but I'm interested. Flashdance is coming out in 4K. There's also a really cool looking steelbook version of this that's coming out.
Flashdance getting a steelbook?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's what's his name? It's the cover's in the style of oh my god, that 80s artist that I like, Nagel.
Dance steelbook. Looking it up.
Last name's Nagel, right? Is it something Nagel? You know what I'm talking about? Like the Duran Duran.
Oh,
album cover, that dude.
Yeah, Patrick Nagel.
Patrick Nagel, that's it. Yeah,
Okay, I got you. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I like his stuff. Got Infinity Pool coming out. Hell is for Heroes from 1962. Bless the Child from 2000. Looks like House of a Thousand Corpses is getting a 20th anniversary edition. Scare Package 2 is coming out. That's on Shudder. The Truth About Spring from 1965. Sorority Babes in the Slimeball Bowl-orama 2 is coming out. That's from 2022, believe it or not. I was not aware that this movie existed. I think it's crazy that they made a sequel to that movie so many years later. And it's like, it looks like a bunch of people from the original cast are in it, and Brink Stevens directed it. So that's kind of interesting. I'm sure it's bad, but
I didn't know that.
But I kind of want to check it out. There's a box set for the In Search of Darkness trilogy that's coming out. So if you haven't seen that huge sprawling documentary series, now's the time. 872 minutes worth of 80s horror movies. So
that's too many.
Strap in on that one. Woman of the Photographs. G.I. Joe Retaliation from 2013, just getting a random Blu-ray drop. Yeah, that's pretty much it. What about Criterions this week?
We got one Criterion, and that's The Fisher King. Ooh. Robin Williams, Jeff Bridges, Terry Gilliam. Fisher King from 91.
You know, I never saw this.
I saw it a long time ago.
I mean, I think I've always wanted to see it, but I just never have.
Well, now you can on Criterion.
Yeah.
4K UHD.
Nice. Cool. All right. I think that's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. You can send us your questions and topics to podcast@filmpulse.net. You can follow us on Twitter @FilmPulseNet, at FilmPulseKevin. And if you have a minute, consider reviewing us on iTunes. That'd be great. For Kevin Rakestraw, my name's Adam Patterson. We'll see you next week.